On to week 5. Saturday, we had our usual morning routine, and that was good. Then we all went to a cafe and either drew or listened to books, read, or something of that sort. I read in this cool cornery spot and actually found the part of Paul and the Gift, the book that Noah and I were working together, super good and helpful. It was about how different significant theologians have interpreted grace, and it was actually really helpful in clarifying what they thought and why they thought it. Joe drew this skeleton hand holding a teddy bear, some heinous Bob Ross thing. Caleb made weird line people and shapes, and Karina is Karina, so her things were of course good. And I think we all enjoyed it. After that, we went to a nearby game shop to play some Magic, and in hope that others would join us, which, despite Caleb and Karina's fancy sign, did not happen. Also, that game was just super tedious and long, so it wasn't much fun. Once we got home, we had dinner. I showed everyone some of the highlights of Love is War, a rom-com anime, and everyone thought it was pretty funny. I then read some until it got dark, and Joe and Noah conversed. And then finally, we went out for Stargazing 2.0 to dream about our ideal future, which kind of happened, but mostly didn't. After an hour or so, everyone got bored, but I wanted to stay out, so I drove them back and then went back to Stargaze for the last hour before the sprinklers. It was good. Not the way I expected it to be, but good. And yeah, then I went to sleep. 6:20 was the next day. Yesterday, we basically started off our day by going to church. No quiet time because Sunday. And yeah, that was met best. They did do a special Father's Day thing, which was cool, but nothing in particularly, illustrative was said in the sermon. After that, Joe and Karina talked with Becky. Caleb and I played some pool, which Caleb pretty handily crushed me at. And Noah pursued the church's library. Unfortunately, all the young adults left, so we didn't really get to talk to anybody. Once we got home, Noah decided it would be good to spend time in the cafe, so we went to earlier and we read some Paul and the Gift, so as we did that. We explored around a bit, trying to find if there was a better place to read, but we couldn't really find anything. However, we did find this fancy bookstore that was really eclectic and cool. So yeah, we headed home, and then Joe and I went shopping briefly, and then we came back and played a game of Magic and ate dinner. The day was technically open, so we didn't really know what to do after, but I decided that since I hadn't watched any anime this far, I would indulge myself a bit, and that's what I did for a good chunk of the rest of the day. I don't really know what else went on in everyone else's life, though. However, in the middle of that, I did take a break to walk with Noah down to the park by the lake because the stars were fantastic, and that was enjoyable. Also, it's worth mentioning that we began our fast on this day, so no eating food of any kind before dinner was permitted. And yeah, I finished the anime I was watching, went to bed, and that was basically it. 6:21. Yesterday, I got to sleep in with no specified end date for the first time on the trip, and that was super nice. I only slept till 10:30, but I actually felt so rested. And yeah, I had quiet time, and since the fast was happening, we skipped breakfast and lunch. I listened to arguments about why I should stay Protestant, and then debated that argument with Alan. Then, as a group, we did origami, which, was okay. I then went and read through Galatians before coming back down the stairs to join a game of Magic with Joe and Noah. I don't know what we did after that, but I think dinner was pretty, soon after. So we finally got to eat, and that was fantastic. After that, we ran the night by watching a movie that we could all laugh at, and we chose My Little Pony movie, and it was fantastic. I think I laughed harder at that movie than any other movie in ages. It was a really great experience. Yeah, that was basically all that happened that day. 6:22. So the morning was pretty normal. I ran with Noah and got one of my better times, though still objectively trash, and then I had quiet time, which was good. We were in Caleb's week, so I had no idea what was happening for the day, and I have no idea what happened tomorrow. But honestly, I really appreciate him thinking to do this. It just makes it more fun, like the spontaneous thing. But yeah, had breakfast, and we drove to pick up groceries and craft stuff. However, the place we went to didn't have something we were looking for, so we stopped by home to drop off the groceries and head to Yuba City for the special item. I pseudo-slept in the car. Pseudo-sleeping meaning I kind of lapsed in and out of consciousness. And I don't know what caused me to be conditioned to sleep in moving cars, but it actually happens every time. And I kind of like it that way. It means, from my perspective, you just get places faster. Anyway, we grabbed what we were looking for and headed back, and then Caleb broke out some carving tools and gave the choice of clay or wood, which all of us chose clay because the wood was actually so hard to carve. And then we made things. I actually made a pretty darn cool Spartan helmet, which I will utilize to break the trend of me having only words in these Life of Demos. And although, yes, it may seem like the clay creation is not worthy of such a groundbreaking position, I nevertheless intend to have pictures. I never intended to have pictures. I just haven't thought of it, actually, so I'm not too distraught. Anyway, there's a picture of my clay little helmet. So yeah, there you have it. I have tried to make a bow sword, but it was mostly a flop, so won't be showing that. After clay, which took quite a while actually, we decided we'd watch this movie Joe knew of called Silence, and it was almost 3 hours long and super well done, masterfully made. It was about this Jesuit priest and his experiences in Japan. It was quite impactful. I think it does a better job than most things and conveys in a very emotional way some of the biggest tensions in Christianity. After watching it, everyone except Noah basically didn't talk for 10 minutes because it was just a little too hard hitting. Very well done, uncomfortably thought-provoking. Highly recommend. Anyway, after that, it was 3 a.m. or something, and since the day was the stay up all night activity, we got our caffeine fix and carried on. I moderated my caffeine in a way that I felt surprisingly good for the most of the night. I didn't just die. I basically always drink enough to feel normal. That's basically how I did it. So whenever I felt tired, I was well, I need to drink until I feel normal. And that worked out really well. While people were just hanging around after the movie, I decided to play some Super Hot. In the end, I got a score of 1,070, which is just under 500 kills. Not really breaking my old record of 1,090, but I got really close. 190,000 actually, and 170,000. Also, I'm still 210th in the world. So that's kind of cool. We then watched a bit of My Little Pony because last time it was pretty funny, but this time it was just like 100% Liquid Courage, so we didn't do that again. And then we all drove down to the lake and watched the sunrise, and that was decent. We were all pretty tired at this point in time, though, and nothing really happened. Even though, by like every metric, I should have ended the day by now, I just kept going because I haven't slept yet. Then we did recaps and kind of just zombied around. At this point, my stomach didn't feel too great from the caffeine, also. I figured, since I wasn't able to do much of anything with my dead self at this point in time, it was a good time to finish. So, after watching a Sosu anime movie, I probably went to bed. And there you have it. That was the day. 6:23. Yesterday, basically nothing happened to us due to the nature of the previous day before. I woke up at like 3:30. However, I only got like 6 or 5 hours of sleep. Fairly intentionally because I didn't want to like mess up my sleep schedule. But yeah, we didn't do much. And since it was a free day, we kind of just like all left to our own devices. I personally debated with Alan for like 2 hours, caught up on the chapters of the Suma I missed, played some shuffleboard with Noah, and talked with Mom for a bit. The only thing that happened is I watched the Steins Gate movie with Joe, Caleb, and Noah, although Caleb fell asleep. And yeah, that was really all there was to the day. The next day, 6:24, was the Thursday. Due to previously tampered with sleep schedule, Caleb allowed us to sleep until like 12 to catch up. And also because Karina made a friend in her Bible study and was meeting her with it, so we couldn't really do a group thing with her, out her anyway. But yeah, once the day was going, we were going to get dropped off in a neighborhood to see if we could find our way back. But it was super hot, so we decided to have a passenger be blindfolded and then driven to some random location in our neighborhood where they'd be assigned the task of getting back in the car. It was a pretty cool idea, though most of our drops off were a flop. Significant action was taken to confuse, especially in Noah's case, who actually drove around in circles for like 20 minutes. And it was kind of stupid, but also kind of funny. All of us actually found our way back with relative ease, though, as the thing is, like, every road kind of loops back. It's not labeled circuit or, a cul-de-sac. So we were kind of guaranteed to get back to one of those, like, looping roads that were really easy to find, and we know how to get home from there. So it was a bit disappointing, a lot less challenging than we thought it would be, but, we did that same sort of thing, finding our way without directions in Grass Valley later on, and that was a lot harder. However, with a few wrong turns included, everyone found their way home. So yeah, I read some Paul and the Gift when we got back, and then we all went to the Young Adults, which is now hosting dinner before the Young Adults, which was great. I honestly had a great time, even though nothing substantial was talked about. Probably because it was about D&D as a big topic, and I love that game, and so I was in the know for a lot of things. Anyway, I really enjoyed that conversation. However, it ended abruptly, namely with Joe being like, "We're leaving!" And then us all leaving, which Noah and I found particularly irritating, and Caleb was just sad because he was having a good time. So I got upset about, like, thinking he could just declare we're leaving, even though the majority wanted to stay. But I knew I was upset because look at me, not having emotions, but recognizing when I do. And let's be honest, this deserves a little bit of praise and adoration, even if I'm trying to, be less self-elevating. This is a worthy exception. So yeah, anyway, Joe wanted to talk about it in the car, but I let him know it probably wasn't a good time for me then. And then once we got back, we went on a brisk walk. I listened to music effectively to reset my emotional state and then approach the situation with a clear head, which worked surprisingly well. So yeah, after that, we had a conversation as a squad, and I must say it was our first real serious conflict. Like, there were multiple members of the group that were irritated, but we handled it really well. Like, best conflict management I've seen personally. But then again, I haven't seen a lot of conflict management. But yeah, we all listened to each other and responded considerately and reasonably, and all the issues were pretty, well cleared, even though we were all emotionally invested. So yeah, I think we handled that really excellently. After that, we went to bed and got good sleep. As for today, today the schedule finally returned to normal. Did quiet time, went to the gym where we did ab workouts because my hand still doesn't do grabbing very well. We then came back. I talked with Alan for like an hour before we went to this old-fashioned bowling place and set up pins for like 5 hours. We were paid to do it. It was a surprisingly enjoyable job, and the best part of it was I got to have my headphones on this whole time, and got to go through all the Celtic Women songs and make a playlist of those, as well as debate with Alan for 2 hours plus of the Catholic and Protestant stuff, both of which made the time go by so much faster. But yeah, here's a picture of that place. Old-fashioned bowling pins. It was kind of jank, but that's what made it cool. And yeah, we made quite a lot of money for a change, and instead of spending it, instead of spending money, and it was a good job. I wouldn't say I'd pick it as my backup career, but it was good. And I got a picture of Karina like this, where she has a hat backward. And that's all I have to say about that. I then conversed with Noah and Joe. Both conversations were good and valuable. And then Joe and I did an anime character guessing competition, back in the days of old, and I enjoyed that mucho. And then I wrote this, and here you go. Week 5.